Hi, everyone. It's great to see everyone here today. Thank you so much for joining us today. The purpose of this video is to create a little panel experience from 4 different university representatives to kind of go over some common questions that we've been getting related to COVID-19, and then some more general information that might be pertinent to juniors who are just starting their college search experience. So whether you are a sophomore, junior, senior, there's going to be some information that'll be relevant to all of you on this panel today. Now, keep in mind that we are going to be answering a lot of questions, most of which, all of which I should say, were provided by Klein ISD. So thank you so much to the wonderful counselors at Klein ISD for providing us these questions. All of these questions that specifically relate to COVID-19, please understand, I want to provide this disclaimer now that the situation with COVID-19 is rapidly evolving, rapidly changing. Any one of the responses that you get from any of our wonderful reps today about COVID-19 is subject to change. We'll remind you about that throughout the course of this recording, but just keep in mind things can change as we learn more about this whole situation. And with that said, I'm gonna introduce myself and then the rest of our panelists today, and then we'll jump into our questions here. My name is Matt Zekin. I'm the Houston Regional Admissions Rep for Wichita State University. Wichita State is located in Wichita, Kansas. We are a public 4-year university of about 16,000 students. And I'm going to pass it over to Michelle.
Hello, everyone. My name is Michelle Miller. I am an admissions counselor with the University of St. Thomas here in Houston, Texas. We're a private liberal arts university at about 3,500 students total. And like I said, here in Houston.
Hi everyone, my name is Christina Dominguez. I am the Houston Regional Recruiter for the University of Arizona, which is located in gorgeous Tucson, Arizona, but I'm regionally based in Houston to serve the students of Houston. The University of Arizona is a 4-year out-of-state university, and we have about 45,000 students.
Hi, my name is Kelly Tallerine, and I'm the Houston Regional Manager for Texas State University, located in Texas, in the Texas Hill Country, right between Austin and Antonio. We are a large in-state 4-year public institution with about 38,000 students at this point in time.
All right, thanks everyone. So we're going to jump into the questions here. The first questions that we have, they were kind of grouped together by things that might be of interest to both juniors and seniors. So we're going to start with our senior questions, a lot of which will cover COVID-19 related information here. Again, just a reminder, a lot of this is subject to change. So our first question for the panel, how will COVID-19 affect my admission into your university related to SAT, TSI, GPA, some of the different requirements. So for Wichita State, we don't have any major updates now due to COVID. We will be reviewing holistically if you are going to be missing one of your test scores. So if you were affected with your ACT or SAT testing, because we do admit automatically based off of GPA and either one of those test scores, 2.5 GPA, plus either a 1080 SAT or 21 ACT. If you miss those test requirements, we'll look more holistically at your academic record based on class rank and GPA. We don't utilize the TSI, because we are an out-of-state university. We admit based off of your pre-college curriculum that you take as a high schooler. We are going to be changing our criteria from a 2.5 GPA to a 2.25. That was going to happen regardless. The Kansas Board of Regents did change the requirements. So we'll look a little bit more closely at GPA and your holistic student record as a result of COVID-19 is the most readily available answer I can give you. Michelle?
Yeah, so at the University of St. Thomas, our standard application minimums have remained the same. So that's a 2.8 GPA on a 4.0 scale, an 1140 SAT, and a 23 composite ACT. However, we have adapted our test optional requirements So students with an unweighted GPA of 3.0 or higher on a 4.0 scale can apply without test scores. And there are scholarships available for those test optional students as well. And then students who decide to submit test scores can also submit unofficial test scores for processing. So really our major changes are related to test optional. Christina, pass it on to you.
So as Matt mentioned, we are in an ever-changing situation. So I think most universities, and my university specifically, can attest that we are willing to work with students when it comes to receiving their SAT and ACT. And even for merit aid consideration when we look at the University of Arizona. So with that in mind, we will be accepting the extended SAT and ACT scores that are taking place in June for students to be considered for merit aid scholarships. And most of our deadlines, if not all of our deadlines, have also changed because of this COVID-19 impact. Knowing that our admissions deadline was May 1st, moving to June 1st to allow those students to kind of gather the necessary paperwork, whether that's unofficial test scores, unofficial transcripts, to make sure that we're meeting their higher education needs.
So at Texas State, a lot has changed, as you've seen throughout everybody else's videos as well. Texas State is doing our very best to accommodate our current seniors. So for fall 2020 is what I'm going to talk about right now. For fall 2020, Texas State is accepting unofficial transcripts. We're accepting unofficial score reports. Those are all to help complete outcomes. If you're coming in without SAT or ACT scores, we do have a holistic review process that we're working with students on. So those are all things happening once the application is submitted, but we really are doing our best to be as flexible as possible. I know that a lot of students are currently worried about the TSI. There are options for TSI for online testing, but at this very moment, a lot of schools have suspended testing. So know that it will come back. Don't panic. There is time. Right now, from what I understand, kind of across the board, TSI has been suspended at this moment. So know that those are going to come back for you as well.
All right, thanks everyone. Our next question here is about transcripts. So, what is the process for securing transcripts? Have the requirements changed with them in light of COVID-19? And for Wichita State, so we actually, we admit on a rolling admissions basis, and students can apply to the university simply by self-reporting all of their scores. You can submit an unofficial transcript or just self-report and still be admitted to the university. And then we won't require official transcripts until after the school year ends, after your senior year ends, prior to your matriculation to the university. So if you still apply based off of your current academic record and you can't access your transcripts right now, you can still be admitted to the university. And then once we get back to a state where you can get those transcripts from your high school, we will accept those official transcripts whenever you can get them to us. I will also say it would, and this is more of just general advice, I would check your high school's website if you're able to. A lot of high schools in recent years and a lot of school districts have moved to a digital platform for requesting those. So even though your counselor may not physically be in the building at your particular school, you may still be able to request them digitally if they're using an electronic format. Michelle?
Yeah, for the University of St. Thomas, we usually do require official transcripts, and I'm going to throw in test scores as well. We usually require official test scores. But for now, we are currently accepting unofficial records for your transcripts as well as unofficial test score reports. We just urge, kind of echoing what Matt said, we urge students to work with their high school counselors, representatives to obtain any copy of their full transcript. We do ask that your full name is on there, as well as your date of birth, and of course the GPA that we'll be looking at.
So I'm kind of going to use the same verbiage I've been using throughout this presentation or college panel is that things are constantly changing, and we do not know where each university will be and their admissions process will be a week from now, a month from now. But currently at this time, the University of Arizona is accepting unofficial transcripts for admissions purposes. So whatever that format may look like for you, whether that's a screenshot, the university also does have a self-reported grade form that you can fill out. But the key word I use is for admissions purposes. So again, at this time, we are still requesting final high school transcripts, which need to be official for verification purposes. So we are accepting unofficial transcripts for several things. Again, admissions purposes, merit aid. If you don't fall into our automatic admissions process, then comprehensive review. But we are in an unknown territory at this point.
So as I mentioned previously, Texas State is for fall 2020, and I like to emphasize for fall 2020, except unofficial transcripts, as well as unofficial test scores. However, that does not mean that, I know that this question is about transcripts, but I'd like to mention test scores because unofficial test scores would not qualify you for scholarships. So that's something to just have a conversation about with me later if you need to. But we are accepting unofficial things, and then we're looking for that final official transcript, kind of like everybody else.
Okay, so our next question is about orientation in light of COVID-19. Will orientation be online instead of in person? So for Wichita State University, as of right now, again, subject to change, I'll throw in that disclaimer one more time here. As of right now, we have not altered our in-person orientation dates as most of our planning and adjustments at the university level have taken us through the spring semester, and our orientation dates are taking place in the summer. It is possible and I would say likely that we will be moving to an online format, and the university is exploring that right now, particularly for some of our June orientation dates that happen a little bit earlier in the summer. But we have orientation dates that go all the way through June, July, and early August as well. So it's possible that while some of them may be disrupted and transferred into an online format, others may still be in person. The advice that I'm giving to current seniors who ask this question is I'm telling them just keep an eye on your Wichita State email, look for communication about your specific orientation date because it will be updated on your official email address as to what's going on with your orientation. Michelle?
At UST, our orientation starts in August, or usually takes place in August, and it's a one-day event. However, during our enrollment days, which usually start in the spring and throughout the summer, there are pieces of orientation that are also covered at these days. So I want to talk about our registration days. Our Kellett Roar days will be online, starting with our first one that will take place on April 25th. And right now, our orientation, which takes place in August, is expected to be in person, but of course, that could change. For now, we're expecting to have our orientation in person. Christine.
So all of our students that have signed up for on-campus orientations for the month of May and June have been notified via email and text message that we are moving to an online format. What that online format entails, I have no idea. We are still kind of finalizing those details. Ask me what platform, maybe Zoom. Someone said FaceTime. So whatever the creativity we have in our office, we are looking at finalizing those details for our students. But just know, regardless of where you attend, your health and the health of your community is the utmost important. So we are going to do whatever it takes to make sure that we are being cautious about the decisions we're making and how that affects you in the long term. So at this point, on-campus orientations, May and June. Online, we are still debating if July will move forward with an online format.
At Texas State, we have made the decision to move all orientation very similarly to everybody else. We don't know what that looks like right now. And we're going to have to be okay with that for a minute. One thing that we have done to help the students is we have taken any upfront cost away from signing up for orientation. So if you were worried about paying for that orientation, know that that's being deferred to a tuition bill where it can be covered by financial aid and scholarship. So we're doing our best that we can there. But yes, our orientations for all of the summer will be online.
Okay, thank y'all. Our next question here is about TSI. Just sort of flat out, do you have TSI information? Any updates on that? I'm going to kind of defer on this one to some of our in-state reps here because we don't require the TSI. We do math and English placement based off of SAT and ACT scores, and students that don't test, we have our own placement exam that they can take if need be. However, I'll go ahead and pass it along here. I don't know if maybe Michelle or Kelly has anything that they want to add about TSI. I'll go ahead and mute myself here.
And Kelly, I'll defer to you because at UST we don't use TSI.
No problem. So Texas State, we do, not for admissions purposes, but in your college math level courses or English level courses. I know I mentioned this earlier, I'll just restate as quick as I can. The TSI system does have availability to do online TSI. So there's no concern about getting into a classroom or getting exposed, anything like that. It will be an online option. We're actually encouraging our students to buy the testing voucher at the moment, even though we don't know when it's going to go live again. So from my understanding, TSI at this moment has been suspended kind of across all fronts, but there are institutions that have the ability to do it online as soon as that server is back for testing. So just hold tight, pick who you're going to do the testing through, maybe buy the voucher if you're prepared to do. But outside of that, it will come back online, we promise.
Christina, anything you want to throw in there?
So, if we're being honest, I was like, I've worked in higher education for about 7 years. What does TSI stand for? Looked it up before this panel. It's Texas Success Initiative. So because we are not in Texas, it would not fall within our kind of testing requirements.
Awesome, thank you. All right, so our last question for our seniors, or our last senior generated questions here. How will your university look at financial aid changes due to COVID-19? This is a kind of a more complicated one here because at this point, our seniors have all likely filled out their FAFSAs. Those who are planning on taking out some sort of aid, you've probably filled out the FAFSA by this point. So this is a very important question. And I did a little bit of digging on Wichita State's case. So Wichita State University is going to be looking at this on a case-by-case basis. We are encouraging every single one of our students who has had some sort of a shift. Let's say, a family member was laid off, your financial situation at home has changed, some sort of traumatic event as a result of all this COVID-19 madness has created a hardship for your family. We're asking you to just reach out directly to our Office of Financial Aid to update us, so that way we can make revisions on your award package. It is going to be one of those more case-by-case situations, and that was kind of our protocol to begin with, even before this entire disaster occurred as well. It is possible to update your FAFSA information in what we have on file with the Office of Financial Aid. For current students, not that this is super relevant, I know a lot of universities are looking at this same kind of thing. We do have an emergency fund for securing, money for rent, technology for moving to online platforms, groceries, things like that for our current students. And that's all run by our Office of Financial Aid as well. They've been doing a ton of work to make sure that not only our incoming students, but our current students are taken care of during this time. Michelle?
Yeah, so we at the University of St. Thomas are in a very similar situation. More than anything, we have a dedicated financial aid office and financial aid counselors that will work with our students and our families on a case-by-case basis. So as a student and family, your financial situation may change or continue to change in the weeks and months that are coming. So we just encourage each student and each family to contact our financial aid office so that we can be a resource for you during these times. And then also I wanted to mention, if there's a student out there that hasn't completed the FAFSA, regardless of perceived family income or the amount that you think you're gonna get, I would just really encourage you to complete a FAFSA if you haven't already.
I just like all the resources that are available to students, regardless of what university you are looking at. The Office of Financial Aid, regardless of what it's called, because different universities will call it different things. We call it OSFA. Do I expect you to remember OSFA? No, because I barely remember it, but it stands for the Office of Scholarship and Financial Aid. Again, every university will have an Office of Financial Aid. But specifically for the University of Arizona, we have a financial aid appeal that students can complete depending on circumstances. So some of those circumstances are actually loss of employment, reduction of earnings, all which are occurring right now in this current pandemic. So very important to know that utilize your resources within your university and utilizing your high school counselors to know of these resources that are available to you.
So just like everybody else stated, yes, please reach out to our financial aid office if you know you Texas State and something has changed in your family. We also have a special case-by-case circumstantial changes that we can do with your financial aid package. Texas State has also changed our deadline. So instead of needing to accept your financial aid quite a bit earlier, we've changed the deadline to June 1st for financial aid acceptance. And we will continue to award assured scholarships until August 24th. So if you do end up taking that, hopefully, let's cross our fingers for that June SAT, or you have scores that already hit our assured scholarship credentials, then we will still award those assured scholarships until August 24th.
All right, so on to some of our junior questions that we have here. Our first one that we have, what should I be focusing on during this time in order to stand out as an applicant? So in a general sense, around this time for our juniors, I would say that clubs and campus involvement are always a great place to start. Emphasizing some of those things that you do outside of the classroom is always a really, really smart idea. A lot of universities will admit based off of simply, your academic credentials. A lot of public universities kind of approach that. And we're fortunate to have, somebody from a private institution here who could speak a little bit more on some of those things that more exclusive universities are kind of looking at for students. But, they want to see people who are, representing themselves as a whole person, not just what they are in the classroom, not just what your test scores and your GPA are. So different universities are going to be looking at a lot of different things. Best thing you can do is to get as involved as possible in your school community. Volunteering is always a great way to go as well. Any of those things that you can sort of point to and show, who you are as a fully represented human being. Michelle?
Yeah, so I think my biggest thing for our juniors right now is do what you can with what you have. Obviously, we're stuck inside. We're following an order for our safety and for our health. So this is just a really good time to do some self-reflecting, to do some research. Our biggest thing, as I am representing a private university on this panel, we do like to see the mission fit for our students and what that means. So really taking the time to research universities beyond the checklist that you usually get, and really maybe even reading their mission statement or seeing how what they're about really aligns with the person that you are, could be a really fruitful and good thing to do during this time that you are a bit stuck at home. So with that being said, just reflect, continue to shape that voice as a future writer of essays for colleges or future interviewee, and work on some of those things for yourself. That would be my piece of advice.
So 6 months ago, I would have told you, you need to go out into your community. You need to just community service, be a holistic person. We want a well-rounded individual. Like, that would have been my answer. Now, kind of similar to Michelle, working with what you have. Even in our roles collectively now at our universities, we are constantly adapting and changing our recruitment strategies, hence this virtual college panel. So kind of exploring your options of how you can still support your community but remaining safe. And I love the self-reflection aspect of who you are as a person. So also, shameless shout out to my video that I did earlier about finding your right fit, right? Michelle was all about, you know, researching the missions, the values. Does that fit with you? I have a presentation on that if you're interested in finding the right fit. Shameless plug. I still like it. Go check it out.
So I think it's also really important to note that if we're having issues getting to that SAT or ACT, that for a lot of institutions, the grades that you have, grades that you are doing right now, even in digital learning, are going to, we always used to say that junior was the most important and it's what we paid the most attention to. And I personally don't think that that's going to change. We're just going to look at how well you adapted to online platform, right? So while I think there's going to be flexibility in that, and every university too, we're struggling too. I don't think any of us love being on little boxes on your computers either. We much prefer face-to-face. That those grades are going to show us your perseverance and your ability to adapt as well. So don't roll your eyes at your online professors or teachers. Do your best to get those grades to be good, and know that we are going to look at them. So get into the SAT or ACT as fast as you can, as soon as it opens. But know that we are here with you, and we're doing it too. So we understand what you are going through, what you've been through, and we're going to do our best to adapt to this situation as well in the admissions process.
All right. Next, we have how will the holistic review change in light of COVID-19? We kind of touched on this a little bit earlier. I won't belabor the point too much. As of right now, there are no major definitive changes outside of looking a little bit more heavily at Wichita State University, looking more heavily at GPA and class rank as opposed to the test scores, if those are in conflict. I would say just make sure that you're reaching out to admissions representatives to let them know of any complications with accessing those test scores. Make sure that you are in contact with your Office of Admissions for the university or college that you're interested in.
Yeah, I'll echo some of those same points. I think it's vital that you reach out to your admissions counselor, admissions rep, especially if your application is going through that holistic review. And also just be patient, because sometimes those holistic reviews do take a little bit longer. But know that we're here to support you, and we're here to help you gather those items for holistic reviews, whatever those may be for each institution. So that's really the biggest piece, I think, is to reach out to the admissions office.
I always use the saying, we do not know what we do not know, right? Mind blown. I know I'm doing a lot of those today. Boom. But again, talking to your assigned regional recruiter, reaching out to the admissions office is going to be your best resource, because that level of transparency is going to help you through that admissions process. Specifically for the University of Arizona, there are two ways to get automatic admissions for all those that do not fall in automatic admission. They would go through a holistic review. Very small percentage of students actually go through holistic review because we have an 86% acceptance rate. So, but if you are looking at that, again, we will work with you depending on where you fall in this current situation.
So for my course at Texas State, theoretically at this moment, we don't intend to change our admission standards from what it previously was. So if all things go back to being perfectly normal after this, we're going to look at our assured admissions chart based on class rank and test scores to require all of those official transcripts and official SAT and ACT scores. Theoretically, we expect everything to go kind of back to normal, where our holistic review would be the same as it was before, which means we're looking at your activities, we're looking at every grade you've ever made, we're looking at the types of courses you took, AP, dual credit, those wonderful things, right? So at this time, we don't know if it's going to change. We don't know how long that this is going to last, but theoretically, our holistic review will look the same, with the understanding that you might not have a ton of community service hours the end of your junior year or junior summer.
Okay. Next up, is it too early to get letters of reference or recommendation letters from teachers and counselors to start a college essay? And this is from the perspective of juniors. So Wichita State University does not require an essay in order to be admitted to the university. However, and I'm sure our other reps here can elaborate on this from the perspective of their university. I think just working with other reps and talking to other reps who work at universities and other admissions counselors that work at universities that do require those, I think you want to make sure that you have a little bit of variety in where you're getting some of those letters, not necessarily all from your senior year teachers. Maybe looking at some of those different professional references that you can get outside of just, your English or math or whatever teacher in your senior year, just to have a little bit more variety and a little bit more scope as to the type of person that you are before just your senior year of high school. But I will let our other reps who do require those letters of recommendation give a little bit more context on that.
Yeah, at the University of St. Thomas, we welcome letters of recommendation for the general admissions process, and we do require them for our holistic review processes. I definitely do not think it's too early to acquire a letter from any of your junior or sophomore year teachers. I think if there's someone that knows you well and can speak to your character, can speak to your performance in the classroom, go and you have the opportunity to reach out to them now. I definitely don't think that it's too early to do that. As far as the college essay goes, for our juniors, the UST application opens up on June 15th. So there isn't a direct access to the prompt for our required application essay. But if you really wanted to get started now, you could reach out to us at admissions@sttom.edu, and we'd be happy to provide that prompt for you if needed.
From a university standpoint, at the University of Arizona, we do not require letters of recommendation nor a college essay, but to kind of answer the prompt of, is it too early to kind of be working on these or gathering these documents? No, it's not. I currently volunteer my time at a nonprofit, which allows students to submit their essay to me so that I can read that and give them feedback for their kind of higher education endeavors and journey. So that doesn't necessarily mean that that student is applying to my university. Again, it's just students that want that additional support. So there are support services and resources available to you, but I think it would be beneficial for students now to start working on those prompts.
State, we don't require letters of recommendation, but we will take them. As far as essays go, we have an optional essay, and most universities will tell you if it says optional, you should do it. It always builds up your application, makes you look like a more hardworking student. Lazy application looks like a lazy student. I'll send those in. I don't think there's ever to work on an essay or those letters of rec. You guys have a lot of time at home, and I know that this is all very stressful, but to start working on those, because you probably would have been doing that at the end of your English 3 classes anyways. So it's not a bad time to start that. I would that I know that we're all going through a hard, and a lot of students in their essays will want to talk about COVID-19 and the time that they've spent here. And while I fully support you doing that, I always like to encourage students to be as creative in their essays as possible. Know that a lot of students are going to write about that, and for the admissions staff, you don't want to just be another COVID-19 essay. So I know that might sound really harsh, and I apologize if it does, but this is the same advice I give on a regular panel single year. So try to be diverse in your essay offerings, and if you are going to speak about this time in your life, do your best to be as creative and insightful as humanly possible.
Awesome. That was great advice, Kelly. Thank you. Will your early admission process change at your university? That's our next question here. So early admission process at Wichita State, we do rolling admissions, so we don't have a hard and fast deadline for our admissions process. We don't have any kind of early action, early decision, or anything like that. The only thing that might change, that is subject to change, it hasn't changed yet, and again, here's that disclaimer that everything is subject to change right now. Our typical priority deadline for scholarships is November 1st. It is possible that will get moved back to accommodate students that need more time to take the SAT and ACT, because a lot of our merit-based scholarships are based off of your test scores. But as far as an admissions deadline, we don't have an admissions deadline. We have rolling admissions. So the only thing that might change is the scholarship deadline, but that's one of those things to kind of check the website and stay tuned for updates.
At UST, we're also rolling admissions, and nothing has yet changed with our timeline for juniors. So really short and sweet answer.
I know we have a question. I do want to stick to the prompt, but I also want to revert back to Kelly. If you noticed when we were kind of recording this, when she said, don't be another COVID-19 essay, what did we all do? We literally nodded our heads. So this is like years of higher education experience. So please take this information seriously, because we are giving you the best advice possible. But in regards to that, for the students that are not aware, clearly I can't talk today, are not aware of what rolling admissions is rolling admissions is when a student submits the required documents for admissions, whether that's an application fee, and high school transcripts. That can vary from university to university, but again, once those requirements are submitted, rolling admissions means the moment that's submitted, 2 to 4 weeks from that, or whatever that university's timeline is, you will receive a decision. So our rolling admissions has not changed.
At Texas State, we also have rolling, and as I stated previously, we don't expect that our junior admissions will be changing. Always subject to change, but we don't expect that it will be changing at this time. For schools that are doing early admissions, generally applications for juniors open up in July or August, and those institutions that have changes will be advertising those changes for you, because the whole goal is to make it as easy and accessible for you as it is for us as well. So know that that information might not be coming out until July or August, maybe June, but July, August mostly, and keep your eye out for those, because institution changing their standards, big, bold, and beautiful on the website.
Okay, thank you. Last question that we have here, something that we kind of touched on already. Will class rank be looked at differently since districts are doing different things because of COVID-19? Don't have a very elaborate answer for this one outside of no specific decision is being made with class rank yet. I would say, you know, kind of jumping off of what Kelly was just saying in regards to our last question there, keep an eye out on the university you're interested in. Keep an eye out on their website for updates on COVID-19. A lot of universities have created a special like sub web page on their main site specifically for COVID-19 updates. Anything relating to admissions, changes, class rank, pushing back deadlines, test scores, any of that kind of stuff that's changing in our consideration is going to be updated on our admissions websites or on our, you know, special COVID-19 update sites. I would say just keep checking websites, and if you can't find the answer on there, seriously, do not be afraid to reach out to an admissions counselor or representative and just ask the question. We are sitting here twiddling our thumbs, waiting to hear from y'all. Please reach out.
All right, I'm excited to talk about this one because when I talk about rank for UST, I always see a sign of relief on student faces. So with that being said, we actually don't look at rank. At UST, we take your GPA at face value. So we've never looked at rank, currently don't look at rank, so no changes.
In the beginning, I talked about the University of Arizona has 2 ways to get automatic admissions. That is going to be on your ranking if you're in top 25% or if your GPA is a 3.0 or higher. So if we do fall into the situation where class rank is going to be an issue, there's always a way for a student to meet automatic admissions based on the GPA. So there are no concerns with that from a university perspective at Arizona.
So at Texas State, we do rely heavily on class rank since we're a Texas institution. We don't expect any changes in our policy. Once again, I know I have to say it, expect any changes for that junior year. Things change though. We are accepting if your school is going to a pass-fail system, we're going to take that into consideration when we're adjusting as quickly as y'all are. On the admission standpoint. But at this time, theoretically, nothing's changing on our end. We do have a holistic review process we've always had and will continue to have for the top 75% of the class. So if you're having issues with class rank or concerns, please you or your admissions counselor and know that we're doing our best to adjust as well, but we don't expect any changes for that fall 2021 application.
All right. That's all the questions that we have for today. I want to thank our wonderful counselors at Klein ISD here in the greater Houston area for providing these questions. I know there's a lot of worry about what's going on right now with this pandemic and how that's going to affect your transition from high school into college. Just know, again, and I hope I speak for everyone here. I know I speak for everyone here when I say reach out to us, ask those questions. Don't be afraid to find your admissions counselor, find your admissions rep, and reach out to them with any questions. We're here, we're waiting to hear from you, and we want to support you during this very confusing time. Anybody else want to throw in anything else?
Before we go, anyone would like to kind of roundabout to say any last minute summaries or advice you can be giving to students at this time to support them?
I want to say something. Yesterday, I saw, it was a meme or like a tweet that was like screenshot and it said, "This is a pandemic, not a productivity contest." And it made me laugh because I think that with all of the free time that we have and extra time that we have, there is that pressure to be very productive, but that we can never sacrifice our well-being and our mental and physical states. So I would just want to say, take care of yourself, take care of your family, communicate, reach out, really take care of yourself, because this isn't just extra time being stuck at home. This is more than that. And it can be affecting you in ways that you don't realize it. So just take care of yourself.
And please know that the universities are here to serve the students, right? So you'll hear all of our offices say that we're here to serve you. And if special or something different, or your family's going through something, please let us be the people that help to solve that stress in your life. If it's not in our realm, we will pass you to the realm in our university in which it lays. We are here for you, truly, and that's kind of our mission as admissions counselors is serving students. So please reach out to us if something has changed in your life. If you're concerned about admission standings or anything, we're really more than happy to help. We're here to serve you.
All right. Thank you very much, everyone, and have a wonderful day. Bye.